I'm Kirk Barbera, the founder of booktales.org. At Booktales, we feed the story-starved speaker. We all know that great speakers are great storytellers. Men like Malcolm Gladwell, Simon Sinek, and even Steve Jobs tell great, amazing stories, and they have a repository of hundreds of interesting stories to tell people. Now, sometimes the greatest stories can be found in business books, like The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The problem, of course, is that there are millions of amazing stories spread out over hundreds of thousands of great business books. We believe some of the best stories are in business books. So at Booktales, we've made it easy for you to access these great stories. All you have to do is go to booktales.org and you can download, practice, inspire. That's our model. We have each of these tales, each of them are 1 to 3 pages max. Each of them has a simple lesson, and each of them at the end of the story has a how to share document to make it easy for you to integrate these stories into your presentations. So check out booktales.org, where you can download hundreds of individual tales from great books like Obstacle is the Way. Today, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to give you one example from a story that you can find for free at booktales.org. And the story is the tale of Amelia Earhart, and it comes from The Obstacle is the Way. The lesson here in the story is called Just Say Yes, and the lesson is simply just get moving. So listen to the tale, and afterwards I'm going to very briefly explain how you can integrate this into one of your future presentations. There's a variety of different ways that this individual tale can be useful in a variety of different types of speeches. Whether you're giving a political speech about sexism and racism, whether you're trying to inspire a woman, female-dominated audience about taking action and not making excuses about difficult endeavors in their life. Or if you're just trying to show the importance of taking action in a general sense and you want to make a point about setting goals and taking action, this is a great story. So check out stick around for the story, and then afterwards I'll show you how to integrate the story. Amelia Earhart wanted more than anything to be a pilot. But she was a woman and it was the 1920s. She could read about it. She could listen to great pilots of her era, and she could even marry a pilot if she wanted to, but nobody would pay her to become a pilot. But for people like Amelia Earhart, this was irrelevant. She was going to become a pilot. She wrote to everyone and anyone who was putting human beings in the air. And in the meantime, she worked as a social worker. Now, one day, a man came to her with a very, very offensive proposition. He said that he would put her in an airplane. Now here's the thing. He said, Amelia, there's going to be male chaperones. You're not actually going to fly the plane. Moreover, they will get paid a lot. You will get paid very little. Oh, and it's an experimental plane, so with all of this, you might die. Now, what do you think Amelia said to this offensive proposition? She said, yes. And that's what separates people like Amelia from everyone else. She did not wait for the perfect circumstances to come around to get her, into the air in the ideal situation. She didn't live in a time of ideal situations, and neither do we. She knew that to get in the air, she would do anything. And no matter how offensive, no matter how dangerous, no matter how much it hurt her ego, she was going to say yes to anybody who would take a chance on putting the first woman in the air. And that's what she did. And in the end, Amelia Earhart became an international celebrity, and she would eventually go on to become the first woman to fly solo from New York to Paris, just like Charles Lindbergh did. But none of it would have happened if Amelia Earhart had not said yes to that initial proposition. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story. And I want to point out some ways that you might be able to use this story in your own speeches or presentations or inspirational talks, or even if you're a manager and you want to pump up your people with some inspirational story. This is a helpful one. And one of the things that the points of the story, the emphasis needs to be on why she took action or how she took action no matter the circumstances. And it's a very short tale that you can implement in just a minute or two. So it's not something that you stand alone with this story, in like a long 50-minute talk. Although if you were doing a lecture on Amelia Earhart, you can definitely tell this story. But just as a story in and of itself, you could just integrate it into your presentation as one example of a larger point that you're trying to make. Now, one of the ways to help this is to help you share it, try as much as possible to build up the offensive proposition and really emphasize how sexism did exist. Nobody had let a woman go into the air. It was very rare. It was a rare opportunity. And this is one of the reasons why she did take it. But the fact remains that sexism did exist. And even in our own time, there are, of course, some injustices in the world. And it's a great example of how someone overcame even more injustices than we have to suffer today by simply saying yes to anything that came her way. So I hope it's a helpful story that you can use in your presentations. And one of the ways I want to help you is giving you the 3 ingredients that you need, the basic points for this story. Because at Book Tales, we don't believe that you should copy verbatim the way we tell the story, or even the way Ryan Holiday in this book, The Obstacle is the Way, tells the story, or even the source material that he had, how they tell the story. The point of the story is, the point of what we're trying to do is to help you tell it in your own words. So you heard how I told it. If you go to booktales.org, you can get a free copy of this, so you can download it. Or you can just copy and paste it if you want, and you can read it verbatim if you wanted to. You can memorize it, although that's not the best idea. But here are the 3 ingredients that this story has to have to have all the elements that it needs to be entertaining and to show the lesson of just get moving. So the first thing is to have the exposition of the background, that it was the 1920s and that sexism did exist. And the other side of this is that Amelia Earhart wanted more than anything to become a pilot. So now you have the character, Amelia Earhart, and you have the problem, sexism in the 1920s. And she wants to become a pilot. So there's a block in the way of that. That's the essence of storytelling. The next thing is, you can give into some of the background. You can add more background if you wanted to do research, or you can really bare bones it and just to say sexism, 1920s, Amelia Earhart wanted to become a pilot. Man comes in with an offensive proposition. You could do that too. So the second point is the offensive proposition. Now the offensive proposition is the guy comes to her and he calls her up and says, "We will put you in a plane." The stipulations, however, are that there's going to be male chaperones. You're not going to get paid anything. They're going to get paid a lot of money because they have to chaperone a woman, right? And the third one was, oh yeah, you might die. And you won't actually fly the plane. So you might die, you won't fly, there's going to be 2 male chaperones, they get paid a lot, you get paid nothing. That's the essence of the proposition. That's the second key element you have to have for this story. And then the third one is that she says yes. And then she becomes, internationally renowned. She's the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, just like Charles Lindbergh. And it would not have been possible, this is important, it would not have been possible if she had not said yes to that initial offensive proposition. So those are the 3 elements that you have to have for this story. It was the 20s and she wanted to be a pilot, the offensive proposition, and the third element was she became an international celebrity because she said yes. So that's it. Go to www.booktales.org where you can download this story and use it for yourself. Again, the bullet points for those 3 points are made very explicit, and there's a paragraph where we kind of give you some ideas on how to implement the story as well. And at Book Tales, we've tried to make it as easy as possible to integrate these stories into your presentations. At this point, we have hundreds of individual tales just like that one. If you go to booktales.org, You can buy them individually as booklets, like Book of Tales. So for instance, book The Obstacle is the Way, you can buy the booklet and you can get the 5 stories that we wrote based on this book, that are from the stories in this book. Or you can pay a monthly fee of only $7.99 and get access to the hundreds of tales that we have already. And we add tales, at least 4 to 5 tales every single week. So I'll see you at booktales.org.